always great to have this kind of a mix, as I say, in a group. And when we talk about changing the climate, we're going to talk about, and I know some of you have military experience, but this Changing the Climate title for our program is not something we just thought up out of thin air. In 2005, a guy by the name of Dr. Ron Heifetz addressed the healthcare forum. And one of the things he said to them in the course of his talk was, healthcare institutions are not just systems and procedures. They are organisms that are energized either positively or negatively by the existence of human processes. Now that's a very odd term, but you have to understand, Dr. Heifetz is a Harvard leadership, okay? And Harvard people have their own sort of language. And so when a Harvard person says human processes, what they mean is people, all right? So what he's saying is that the system, the organization, is energized by its people. And these people determine the organization's emotional climate and its ability to interact either positively or negatively. And as we looked at the situation that was presented to us by the folks in the VA that came to us and asked for our help, we looked at some of the environmental issues, the work environment issues that they were talking about, and this quote from Dr. Heifetz resonated with us, so we called the program Changing the Climate, because the mandate that we were given when the design team from Network 23 started working with us back in 2005 was to help find ways to improve the work-life atmosphere of VA medical centers. So we called the program Changing the Climate, because that's the ultimate objective, is to change the climate in which you live so much of your life and work each and every day. Now, when this program first started, Scott, who is our CEO and who I worked with on the development of this program, Scott came to me because he didn't have a lot of experience with the VA at that point. He knew that I'd been working with him for about 15 years, and he said to me, why is it, Jim, that they have this kind of issue, or these kinds of issues going on in their workplace with confrontation and conflict and stress and pressure and all of these things? Is there something in the VA, in the makeup of the folks at the VA, that they somehow feel defensive, or they are feeling like they're second rate, that their service is not up to par, and so they've got this mental thing going on? I said, no, Scott. I said, nothing could be further from the truth. The reality of life at the VA, I told him, and I will tell you now, is that the number one truth in your life is this: VA employees are the best in the world at delivering world-class health care to veterans and their families. The best in the world. Now, I understand that it's easy for us, an outsider like me, to come into a group of folks who work and live in this environment all the time and say, you know, you're the best in the world, right? But, and Scott challenged me because he's kind of a cynic, right? He said, are you sure? So I said to him, and we're going to say to you today, don't take our word for it. And that's a concept I want you to keep in mind all day long. If this program is going to do you any good at all, if this is going to help you develop a better working environment, it has got to be, number one, real, and number two, honest. All right? So anytime today that you hear something that doesn't ring true, anytime today that you hear or see something that doesn't match up with your understanding of the world you work and live in, you let us know, because we want to keep it real. We're going to talk honestly, openly, bluntly, all day long. We're going to tell the truth. There are no secrets in here. We all know what's going on. You all know it. You live it every day. And we're going to lay it all out, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to try to fix it. We're going to start fixing it today. But in order to do that, we got to lay it out there. So keep us honest, and keep the information coming. So I said to Scott, when he challenged me on this concept of the number one truth, that the VA provides the best health care in the world, we're going to keep coming back to this all day long. He said, prove it. I said, hey, don't take my word for it. I want to say that to you too. Let's take a look at who says VA provides the best health care in the world. U.S. News and World Report in 2005 published a feature article entitled Military Might. VA hospitals are models of top-notch care. Right? U.S. News and World Report. That same year, another feature story came out in Fortune magazine called The VA, National Leaders in Efficiency and Quality. These are not neighborhood publications, folks. These are national, respected publications. Business Week puts out a piece in its magazine in 2006, The VA, Best Medical Care in the USA. Moving down the list, we have Time magazine in August of 06, How VA Hospitals Became the Best. And the hits just keep on coming. Look at this one. The New England Journal of Medicine. Now, those of you who've been in the healthcare industry for a while know that this is the premier publication in the healthcare industry. New England Journal said in 2007, the VA's celebrated rise to international leadership in quality care. It doesn't get much better than that. But then the American Medical Association, in its publication, turns around and says, the VA now outperforming the private sector in almost every measure of quality. So you don't have to take my word for it. The Washington Post in 2009 did a feature called VA Ambulatory Care, Another National Best. Okay. Then in 2007, a guy by the name of Philip Longman wrote a book, Best Care Anywhere. Why VA healthcare is better than yours. How many of you in this room knew that this book existed? That's a tragedy, folks. That's a tragedy. So I presume that none of you have read it. Okay? And the tragedy is that this book should be in the hands of every employee of every VA medical center. This book should be on the table in the waiting room of every clinic in every VA hospital. And it should be on the shelf of every library in every VA facility. I happen to know that in your facility you have at least, was it 4 copies in the library, don't you, Rhonda? And they're available for you anytime you want to take a look. What Longman does in his book is he builds the case that explains why the VA is the best in the world, how it got that way, and why it continues to be that way. But I'm going to take exception to Mr. Longman's book in one area. In my humble opinion, he has left out the 2 principal reasons why the VA is the best healthcare organization in the world. And I'm going to illustrate those 2 reasons to you right now. We went around the room and did introductions a few minutes ago. In the course of that, I asked you to tell me how long you've been with the organization. And we found anything from a year to 30 years here. But let's recap what we just learned. How many of you have been with the VA for at least 5 years? Please raise your hands. Okay. How many of you at least 10 years? 15? 20? See, I'm glad you didn't put your hand up because your arm would be getting so tired by now. That's all I'm saying. 25. And then 30, right? Now, how many of you here have private sector healthcare experience as well? Okay, those of you with private healthcare experience, I'm going to ask you to keep me honest here. I submit to you that if you were to go into a private sector healthcare institution, gather up 18 people at random, bring them into a room, and ask that series of questions, you would not find the percentage of people in that group that had 10 and 15 and 20 and 25 and 30 years experience or service with that organization. Am I right or not? Absolutely. Talk to me. Tamiko, talk to me. That's what I said.
Well, I used to work in research methods.
Okay.
HCA. And I recently had to go back there for the family member had to come into the hospital.
Right.
And at the time I left there, I had 6 years.
Right.
And I was in 2001.
Okay.
When I went back, a lot of the same people that worked there when I left are still there. And
Now, I will accept that correction, all right? But again, you said it was a research hospital, right?
No, that's the name of it.
Oh, it's called research
Right,
hospital.
I work
Research medical
I work at
center.
Baptist Clinic too, and the average one for employee time there was about 17 years.
Okay.
It was just, it was a family organization.
And there are, and these are, I think, are exceptions. Based on our experience with the VA and talking with and doing the research required to build this program, those kinds of situations, while they do occur, are the exception, all right? Typically, you don't. I mean, you have a high rate of turnover. You have people who are trying to build careers, and they're just, you know, some of them are revolving doors when you get right down to it. So the point I'm trying to make is that with the VA, there is a commitment, a level of commitment and dedication to the mission that you simply don't find in the typical private sector healthcare institution. You don't have that. That's one reason. Right, now here's the big reason. How many of you in this room are veterans yourself? Please raise your hand. Now, keep your hands up for just a moment, please. How many of you in this room have a veteran in your immediate family? Please raise your hand. Now, just look around the room. Keep your hands up. All right, put your hands down. Thanks. What you just saw there is the main reason that the VA has, does, and will continue to provide the best health care in the world. Because when you folks go to work in the morning, you are not just going to a job to take care of some sick people. You're going to take care of family. And when that veteran comes through the door of your facility in the morning to receive care, that individual is not just going to some institution to get health care services doled out by a bunch of strangers. They're coming home. And they know it, and you know it. And it's that connection, and it's that commitment that make the VA the best healthcare system in the world. Now, having said that, how many of you in this room wake up every morning and when your feet hit the floor, you say to yourself, I'm the best in the world. Not you, Rob. I'm talking to the folks who work for the VA. Okay?
Sorry.
Right. These are my people. So, how many of you? None? What a shame. I mean, seriously. How many of you hear from a colleague at least once a month that you're the best at what you do, that you're the best? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, less than 25%. Not good enough. I'm sorry? We're getting there. We're getting there. Don't read my notes. Okay. How many of you hear from leadership at least once a month that you're the best? 1, 2, 3, even less. Okay? Not good. Not good. Now, let's go to you. How many of you hear from a veteran at least once a month that you're the best? See, look around. The vets know. The vets know, and I know they know. Because one of the things I do, I make it a point wherever I go in my travels, I talk to vets whenever I can find them. And I ask them, do you have any dealings with the VA? And secondly, what do you think? And I'll tell you right now, and you know it as well as I do, better probably, the vets love you guys. Veterans love you guys. Okay? So, they know it, but apparently you don't know it. And you're not hearing it. And you're not saying it. And that makes me nuts. Okay? I'm the best in the world at what I do. And it's a great feeling. I realize it every day. And you should too. You deserve that. You need to wake up in the morning, and this should be the first thought that hits your head. It should be the last thing you think about when you get ready to cash in at night. That you're the best in the world at what you do. We know it intuitively, but we lose sight of it. How do we lose sight of it? Why does it slip away from our consciousness?